Hey everybody, this video is called Make the Garments, and tonight we're going to continue our pass-through study here in the book of Exodus. We're in the second to last chapter tonight, where we're going to look at the making of the garments. So let's look at Exodus 39, starting verse 1 through 7. It says, "Of the blue, purple, and scarlet thread, they made garments of ministry for ministering in the holy place, and made the holy garments for Aaron, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He made the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine linen, woven linen, and they beat the gold into thin sheets and cut it into threads, to work it in with the blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and the fine linen, into artistic designs. They made shoulder straps for it to couple it together. It was coupled together at its two edges. In the intricately woven band of his ephod that was on it was of the same workmanship, woven of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And they set onyx stones enclosed in satins of gold. They were engraved as signets are engraved with the names of the sons of Israel. He put them on the shoulders of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel, as the Lord had commanded Moses." So in these 7 verses, we see the fulfillment of the command in the description for the ephod of the high priest from Exodus chapter 28, verse 5 through 14. And the artisans obeyed every single detail that the 28th chapter put out. And they beat the gold into thin sheets, and they cut in the threads, which the process adopted to get the delicate strips for braided chains or gold embroidery to work, and it confirmed well with contemporary Egyptian methods of gold working. In verse 8 through 21, it says, "And he made the breastplate artistically woven like the workmanship of the ephod, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and a fine woven linen. They made the breastplate square by doubling it. A span was its length, and a span its width when doubled. And they set in it 4 rows of stones. A row of sardius, a topaz, and an emerald was the first row. The second row, a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. The fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They were enclosed in satins of gold in their mountains. There were 12 stones according to the names of the sons of Israel, according to their names, engraved like a signet, each one its own name according to the 12 tribes. And they made chains for the breastplate at the ends, like braided cords of pure gold. They also made 2 satins of gold and 2 gold rings, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And they put the 2 braided chains of gold in the 2 rings on the ends of the breastplate. The 2 ends of the 2 braided chains they fastened in the 2 satins, and put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod and in the front. And they made 2 rings of gold and put them on 2 ends of the breastplate, on the edge of it, which was on the inward side of the ephod. They made 2 other gold rings and put them on the 2 shoulder straps underneath the ephod toward its front, right at the seam above its intricately woven band of the ephod. And they bound the breastplate by means of its rings to the rings of the ephod with a blue cord, so that it would be above intricately woven band of the ephod, and that the breastplate would not come loose from the ephod, as the Lord had commanded Moses." So this might be a little bit of dry to you, but a lot of pastors, when they go through the book of Exodus, they'll actually do one sermon on chapter 36 through 40, because as I mentioned, chapter 36 through 40, everything I'm reading right now might already sound familiar to you from prior texts. But in this passage of the making of the breastplate, we see the fulfillment of the descriptive command of the breastplate for the high priest that's given in Exodus chapter 28, verse 15 through 29. And the Urim and the Thummim were inserted into the breastplate, and it became an essential part of it, or it was seen as a permanent connection with it. In verse 22 through 26, it says, "He made the robe of the ephod of woven work, all of blue, and there was an opening in the middle of the robe, like the opening in a coat of mail, with a woven binding all around the opening, so that it would not tear. They made on the hem of the robe pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet thread of fine woven linen. And they made bells of pure gold, and put the bells between the pomegranates on the hem of the robe, all around the pomegranates. A bell and a pomegranate, all around the hem of the robe, to minister in as the Lord had commanded Moses." So here we're seeing another fulfillment of the descriptive command that's found in Exodus chapter 28, verse 31 through 35, on the robe of the high priest. In verse 27 through 29, it says, "They made tunics artistically woven of fine linen for Aaron and his sons, a turban of fine linen, exquisite hats of fine linen, short trousers of fine woven linen, and a sash of fine woven linen with blue, purple, and scarlet thread, made by a weaver, as the Lord had commanded Moses." So we see the fulfillment for the tunics and the turbans and the sashes and the trousers that was directly commanded back in Exodus chapter 28, verse 39 through 43. So you're going to notice that a lot of the verses that we're checking out today in chapter 39, it equivalates to the command that was given in Exodus 28. In verse 30 and 31, it says, "Then they made the plate of a holy crown of pure gold, and wrote on it in an inscription like the engraving of the signet, 'Holiness to the Lord.' And they tied it to a blue cord to fasten it above the turban, as the Lord had commanded Moses." So we see another fulfillment of the directive command that's found for the turban for the high priest from Exodus 28, verse 36 through 38. In verse 32 through 41, it says, "Thus all the work of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting was finished, and the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses, so they did. And they brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent and all its furnishings, its clasp, its boards, its bars, its pillars, and its sockets, the covering of ram skins dyed red, the covering of badger skins, and the veil of the covering, the ark of the testimony with its poles and the mercy seat, the table, all its utensils, the showbread, the pure gold lampstand with its lamps, the lamps set in order, all its utensils, and the oil for light, the gold altar, the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, the screen for the tabernacle door, the bronze altar, its grate of bronze, its poles, and all its utensils, and the laver with its base, the hangings of the court, its pillars, its sockets, the screen for the court gate, its cords, its pegs, all the utensils for the service of the tabernacle for the tent of meeting, and the garments of ministry to minister in the holy place, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and his son's garments to minister as priests." So we see that Moses looks over, and he's looking over the construction of the tabernacle, the overview of the whole construction project. And it was finally at this moment that all the tasks that were assigned to the artisans were all completed, and the great task on which they embraced was ready for formal presentation. In the last two verses of this chapter, it says, "According to all that the Lord had commanded Moses, so the children of Israel did all the work. Then Moses looked over all the work, and indeed they had done it, as the Lord had commanded, just as so they had done it, and Moses blessed them." So we see that Moses becomes like a building inspector here. He inspects the work, and he knew exactly from the prior passages that I referenced to in the construction of the tabernacle here. He knows exactly what God was expecting. You know, God was the customer, and he knew what God wanted, and he got to witness the wonderful obedience of Israel. And this is the only recorded instance in the book of Exodus where you're going to find Moses pronounce a blessing over the Israelite people. And to wrap up, a little summary, because as mentioned, a lot of it's a descriptive command that we see fulfilled here. But quick wrap up, we see the making of the priestly garments as it was commanded in Exodus 28. And we looked at the overview of the whole construction project. You got the building inspector Moses taking a big overview look over the work. And that's going to wrap up this video. We'll see you Saturday as we wrap up our study through the book of Exodus. So I hope you have a great rest of your night, great rest of your week. See you Saturday.